The Pacific Theater, 1942 to 1945, presented some of the most challenging combat conditions in history. Dense jungle undergrowth turned every battlefield into a close-range nightmare, where engagements often occurred at less than 30 yards. In this environment, the United States Marine Corps introduced a weapon that shocked the Japanese military's expectations of modern warfare: the 12-gauge pump-action shotgun. Though historical records rarely highlight specific combat instances, Winchester Model 1897 and Model 1912 shotguns were widely distributed throughout the Pacific Campaign, creating a tactical advantage that the Japanese had never anticipated. The Imperial Japanese Army had spent decades preparing to fight Western powers, studying British rifles, American machine guns, French mortars, and Soviet submachine guns, but shotguns? They were considered hunting tools, not instruments of war. This oversight would prove costly as America deployed roughly 25,000 Model 97s and 60,000 to 80,000 Model 12s during World War II. Japanese military doctrine relied heavily on spiritual resolve to offset material disadvantages. Japan produced less steel in a year than America produced in a month. To compensate, Japanese infantry focused on close-quarters combat, emphasizing night infiltration attacks, hand-to-hand fighting, and bayonet assaults, tactics proven against Chinese and British forces. But at ranges under 30 yards, a Marine with a Winchester Model 97 could fire 6 rounds of .000 buckshot in roughly 2 seconds using the weapon's slam-fire feature. Each shell contained 9 8.38 mm pellets, creating a spread pattern that made misses nearly impossible in dense jungle terrain. The Model 97, designed by John Browning, became the Marines' primary shotgun in early campaigns. Its military version featured a 20-inch barrel, a perforated heat shield, and a bayonet lug compatible with the M1917 sword bayonet. Its key advantage was the absence of a trigger disconnector, allowing continuous fire while operating the pump action. The Model 1912, developed by Winchester engineer T.C. Johnson, introduced an internal hammer to prevent accidental discharge and eventually replaced the Model 97 by 1943, though both saw action throughout the war. Ammunition proved just as critical as the weapons themselves. Standard .000 buckshot shells contained 9 pellets, each weighing 53.8 grains. At 10 yards, the spread was about 10 inches. At 30 yards, roughly 30 inches, ideal for the jungle where precise aiming was often impossible. However, paper-cased shells absorbed moisture in the humid Pacific environment, swelling and sometimes jamming in the chamber. This issue persisted until March 29, 1945, when the military adopted the all-brass M19 shells, restoring reliability just as the war neared its final battles. Guadalcanal, August 1942 to February 1943, marked the first major American offensive in the Pacific. Marines brought shotguns, but official records focus on machine guns, rifles, and artillery. Shotguns were primarily used for jungle patrols and perimeter defense, with point men carrying them to respond rapidly to ambushes. Photographs from the campaign show Marines with Winchesters ready for close encounters, but battle reports barely mention them. Similar challenges appeared in New Guinea, 1942 to 1945. Dense jungle and extreme humidity rendered paper shells almost useless, and many units left shotguns in rear areas. They relied instead on M1 Garands, Thompsons, and Browning automatic rifles. The lesson was clear. A weapon's theoretical power didn't always translate into combat effectiveness under harsh conditions. As the war progressed, Marines developed specialized shotgun tactics. These included patrol point security, night perimeter defense, and prisoner management. The spread of buckshot allowed suppression of multiple targets in ambush situations, while the pump action's distinctive sound served as both warning and deterrent. However, limited ammunition and range meant shotguns were supportive rather than primary weapons. Urban combat in Manila, October 1944, highlighted both the strengths and limitations of shotguns. In room-clearing operations, they delivered devastating firepower, yet Japanese defenders quickly adapted by fortifying positions, forcing Marines to rely on flamethrowers and demolition charges. On Iwo Jima, February 1945, Shotguns were largely secondary. The battle relied on heavy flame tanks and coordinated infantry assaults. Even in Okinawa, April-June 1945, the shift to open terrain and prepared Japanese defensive lines limited shotgun employment, with their use mostly confined to clearing final fortifications and managing civilians. Despite the production of tens of thousands of shotguns, actual combat use was limited. The Library of Congress and the National Museum of the Pacific War contain thousands of Pacific War interviews, yet few mention shotguns in combat. Memoirs like Eugene Sledge's With the Old Breed and Robert Leckey's Helmet for My Pillow barely reference them, emphasizing rifles, machine guns, and mortars as decisive weapons. This discrepancy between production numbers, official authorization, and real-world use highlights a key truth. The shotgun was a specialized tool rather than a mainstay of combat. It excelled in niche roles, jungle ambushes, point security, and night defense, but never matched the tactical impact of bars, M1s, or flamethrowers. Popular culture, films, and video games elevated the shotgun to iconic status, creating myths that outpaced reality. Veteran accounts support this nuanced view. One Guadalcanal Marine recalled the Model 97 as good for night watch and jungle paths. But when the shooting started, you wanted a rifle. Another Marine noted that while each squad was authorized a shotgun, half the time it stayed with the company gear, too specialized for routine combat. The adoption of brass-cased M19 ammunition in March 1945 solved the moisture problem, but too late to influence major Pacific battles. By then, Iwo Jima was secured, the Philippines campaign largely concluded, and Okinawa was imminent. While brass shells proved useful for occupation duties, their introduction underscores that shotguns, despite their fame, played mostly a supporting role in the vast machinery of Pacific combat. As the Allies planned the invasion of Japan, military strategists envisioned shotguns playing a key role in urban combat. Operation Downfall, the projected assault on Japanese cities, required substantial shotgun allocations for clearing buildings and confined streets. But history intervened. The atomic bomb rendered the invasion unnecessary, leaving the combat potential of brass-cased ammunition largely untested. Had these reliable shells arrived earlier, post-war analysis suggests shotguns could have dramatically improved close-range firepower. Yet speculation cannot rewrite reality. For most of the Pacific War, ammunition reliability problems severely limited shotgun effectiveness. Despite their theoretical advantages, Japanese forces never developed specialized countermeasures, focusing instead on artillery, naval gunfire, and tanks, the weapons that truly dictated outcomes. Japanese tactical evolution emphasized terrain, defensive depth, and coordination to offset American firepower. Banzai charges were replaced with fortified inland positions, interconnected tunnels, and reverse-slope defenses. Shotguns, though present, simply never achieved the tactical relevance necessary to alter these defensive strategies. Post-war Japanese studies barely mention them, highlighting how marginal their actual impact was. Even statistical documentation of shotgun effectiveness is virtually non-existent. World War II generated extensive operational research. Hit probabilities, casualty correlations, ammunition efficiency, all meticulously recorded for rifles, mortars, and machine guns. Shotguns, however, left almost no measurable trace. Veterans can estimate rifle rounds fired or mortar shells expended, but shotgun statistics rarely appear, reflecting their peripheral role. Extensive Marine Corps training had created high expectations. Marines practiced slamfire techniques, jungle ambush scenarios, and room-clearing drills, imagining shotguns as frontline game-changers. In reality, the battlefield rarely mirrored training conditions. Jungle humidity, volcanic ash, and fortified urban positions constrained the weapon's effectiveness. Logistics compounded the problem. A 12-gauge shell weighs twice as much as a rifle cartridge and occupies 3 times the space. Marines could carry 80 rifle rounds in the space of 36 shotgun shells. Supply chains prioritized general-purpose ammunition, leaving shotguns poorly resourced. Veterans often recalled receiving only 1 or 2 boxes of shells per operation, too few for sustained use. Urban operations, like Manila and Naha, further exposed shotgun limitations. Japanese defenders created kill zones, booby traps, and interlocking fields of fire that kept Marines beyond effective shotgun range. Where close-quarters engagements did occur, grenades, Thompson submachine guns, and flamethrowers proved more practical, offering greater versatility and sustained firepower than the 6-shot capacity of a pump-action shotgun. Despite limited battlefield impact, the shotgun achieved outsized cultural significance. Hollywood and popular media immortalized Marines with trench guns clearing Japanese positions, a dramatic image often disconnected from historical fact. This mythology reinforced the narrative of American ingenuity and practical problem-solving, casting the shotgun as an emblem of innovation rather than a decisive weapon. The historical record tells a different story. Shotguns remain specialized tools, effective in niche roles like night security, jungle ambushes, and prisoner management, but never central to combat outcomes. Japanese forces never prioritized countermeasures because shotguns did not significantly influence battle. Administrative records support this reality. Requisitions, repair reports, and ammunition requests indicate that most shotguns spent more time in arms rooms than in combat. Rifles and machine guns required constant maintenance due to heavy use. Shotguns mostly required cleaning from storage corrosion. Ammunition requests mirror this pattern. Millions of rifle rounds versus modest shotgun shell allocations, largely for training. International experience reinforces the conclusion. British, Australian, Soviet, and Chinese forces fought jungle and urban battles without relying on shotguns, achieving similar outcomes with rifles, submachine guns, and grenades. Shotguns were simply one option among many, not a decisive factor. Post-war military evaluations reflected these lessons. The Army's infantry boards prioritized rifles, machine guns, mortars, and recoilless rifles for future development. Shotguns received minimal attention, a practical acknowledgement of their limited utility. Korea and Vietnam would see selective shotgun use, particularly for confined environments or tunnel operations, but never as standard issue. Ultimately, the story of American shotguns in the Pacific reveals a larger truth about warfare and myth-making. Technical capability alone cannot guarantee battlefield impact. Weapons must integrate into doctrine, logistics, and operational realities to achieve effectiveness. Shotguns possessed lethal potential in theory, but logistical constraints, tactical limitations, and environmental challenges prevented them from becoming a game-changer. The Japanese military's lack of specific response to shotguns was not negligence. It reflected accurate tactical assessment. They focused on the weapons that truly mattered: artillery, naval fire, aircraft, and flamethrowers. Shotguns, though surprising, did not alter battle outcomes. Today, military shotguns remain specialized tools for door breaching, close-quarter scenarios, and non-lethal applications. Their limited role mirrors the reality of World War II, tools with specific purposes rather than universal solutions. The legend of the Pacific War shotgun illustrates how mythology can overshadow fact. The image of Marines with trench guns clearing enemy positions is iconic, but the truth is subtler and more instructive. Shotguns were present, occasionally effective, but never decisive. The battles that truly shaped the Pacific were won through overwhelming firepower, logistics, and combined arms, not by the occasional blast of buckshot in the jungle.